This is the War Brief Daily for May 12th, 2026, covering the Russia-Ukraine theater. Tonight, we are tracking three major updates. First, the Trump-brokered three-day ceasefire has officially collapsed. Second, what Russian forces actually did on the front line while that pause was in effect. And third, where the diplomatic picture stands and why the gap between the two sides is as wide as anything on the battlefield. First, the ceasefire is over. President Trump announced the three-day pause on May 8th, timed to run through Russia's Victory Day. As of midnight tonight, it has expired. This is confirmed. It did not hold. The Ukrainian General Staff reported 51 combat engagements on May 9 alone. The Russian Ministry of Defense countered by claiming 16,071 Ukrainian ceasefire violations in a single 24-hour window. That number is not operationally credible. It mirrors the same inflated violation counts Russia used during Minsk I and Minsk II, a documented information warfare tactic. What is confirmed, independent NASA firm's thermal monitoring showed hostilities decreased on May 10th, but they never stopped. The ceasefire reduced the scale of airstrikes. It did not produce a frontline pause. Second, what happened on the ground during that window? According to ISW's confirmed assessments, Russian forces used the ceasefire period to accumulate troops and strengthen positions along the Kupiansk, Lyman, and Sloviansk axes, consistent with pre-offensive staging. In Kharkiv, confirmed, Russian forces launched 27 drones on May 10, Shahid, Gerbera, Italmus, and Parodia types. The Ukrainian Air Force confirmed all 27 were downed. Separately, ISW confirmed that Russia has effectively lost its urban foothold inside Kupiansk city, a Ukrainian tactical hold. And Ukrainian forces were documented interdicting Russian supply lines near Mariupol, roughly 105 kilometers from the contact line, demonstrating expanded deep strike range. One claim is still emerging and not confirmed. Social media accounts reported strikes on FSB facilities in Crimea. That is currently a single-source, unverified report. We are not treating it as confirmed. Third, the diplomatic picture. On Victory Day, Putin said, and I quote, "I think the matter is coming to an end." No terms attached. The Kremlin's actual terms, delivered separately, are that any ceasefire requires Ukrainian forces to withdraw from the remainder of Donetsk Oblast, territory Russia has failed to capture in over 4 years of war. That is a zero-concession demand dressed as a negotiating position. Worth noting, this year's Victory Day parade in Moscow was the most stripped down since the Soviet era. No tanks, no heavy weapons on display. OSINT analysts attribute that directly to drone strike risk. On the prisoner exchange attached to the Trump ceasefire, Zelensky confirmed Ukraine submitted a list of 1,000 detainees. Russia says it never received the proposal. The exchange is in dispute. Finally, Hungary's political landscape shifted on May 11th with the swearing-in of new Prime Minister Péter Magyar, ending Viktor Orbán's 16-year rule. Orbán was NATO's most consistent internal blocker of EU-Ukraine support packages. Watch whether that posture changes. This is an emerging development, not a confirmed policy shift yet. Here's what to watch in the next cycle. With the ceasefire expired, the most immediate threat vector is a return to large-scale Russian missile and drone strikes against Ukrainian cities within the next 12 to 24 hours. Watch the Kupiansk and Lyman axes closely. ISW assessed Russian forces were specifically using this pause to regroup for renewed offensive operations. Watch whether Trump responds to the ceasefire's failure with additional pressure on Moscow or a shift in posture. And watch whether the prisoner exchange moves forward or collapses entirely. That's your War Brief Daily for May 12, 2026.